call me Jaggi of FanSided, here with NFL expert and FanSided senior contributor Marcus Mosher. We're going to talk about the NFL Combine buzz today, Marcus. No participants yet, but we're getting there this week. And by Thursday's show, we're going to be able to see some of those weigh-in numbers and then prepare for what should be an exciting 4-day stretch here. We've got news coming out of the Combine, though, because general managers are speaking. We're learning tidbits of information here and there about some of the big names around the NFL. We're going to talk A.J. Brown. Is a trade in the works? Is that something that Nick Sirianni is open to? John Spytek talking Maxx Crosby and the Las Vegas Raiders. All that and more. Stick with us here. You are tuned into Stacking the Box, where NFL fans come to talk, celebrate, and debate. For more coverage, hit up fansided.com and make sure you're checking out all of our affiliate sites for the latest and greatest NFL news. Marcus, let's kick it right off, though, with the NFL Combine buzz. We've got the Combine this week, 4-day event. Some big names on the dock to participate, some not. Jordan Tyson, not a participant. What's that going to do for his status? I think that there are several different ways we can kind of digest this and start talking about it, Marcus. Is there someone who's going to break the 40 record this year? There are a few names on the dock. That's a potential. Where do you want to go from here? What's the latest Combine buzz?
Well, first of all, we get all these teams together, and this is where, we learn a lot about how these teams plan on building the rosters, who's coming back, who's not. I want to start with Malik Willis because I feel like I'm the only one not taking crazy pills here, because there was an article that came out from Greg Rosenthal of NFL.com where he ranked the top 101 free agents going into this offseason. And at number 1 was Malik Willis. And I get it. Quarterback need is the big one, right? Everybody's looking for their next star quarterback, and he's young, he's athletic. Tommy, do you want to guess how many passing touchdowns Malik Willis has in his 4-year NFL career?
I'm going to say 6.
6. He's got 6 touchdowns, and we're talking about him getting like 35 or 40 million a year. I don't understand it. Like, I truly don't understand it. We had Justin Fields last year who, the numbers were not great, but he did play multiple years in the NFL, was very young, he was bigger than Malik Willis, just as athletic, and he got, was it $20 million a year from the Jets? Why is Malik Willis, who is far less experienced, played at a much smaller school, he's shorter, he's only 6 foot, why is he going to get double what Justin Fields got in free agency last year?
I think it's a completely justifiable question. And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know why the buzz is so high on him. Now, granted, I think that with the 35 pass attempts that he had for the Packers this past season, I think he was
35.
Really good. 35 pass attempts. That's the thing. He has 6 NFL starts. He is 3-3 as a starting quarterback. And obviously some of that came in Tennessee. But 6 NFL starts. What are we doing here? PFF, Marcus, has his yearly projection at $20 million per season in average annual earnings. Spotrac has him at $35.5 million. That would put him over Super Bowl champion quarterback Sam Darnold, who, by the way, Marcus, in 2024 had a 35 touchdown, 4,300 yard season for the Minnesota Vikings before he got paid. What are we doing with Malik Willis? I'm just as baffled as you are, because I get some of the intrigue, but not nearly at that cost.
And I've seen teams like the Cardinals who are interested in signing Malik Willis. It's like, listen, if you don't want to be in on Kyler Murray, you want to be out of the Kyler Murray business, I get it. I think Kyler is a very up and down quarterback, but Kyler's had 4 years where he's had at least 20 passing touchdowns, and he's had years where, the Cardinals were good and they were a playoff team. Why go from Kyler to Malik Willis? Like, why pay someone to take Kyler Murray, or, you're going to have $50 million in dead cap all of a sudden just to turn around and give it to Malik Willis? I just feel like I'm losing my mind here.
It's such a hope and a prayer that he's going to become something. Obviously, we've seen it. And I think that if it works out, whether it works out or not, if the guy gets paid, I think Willis owes half of his contract money to Sam Darnold, because I don't think there's any chance we're talking about Willis getting paid as much as he is going to get on the open market here, if it had not been for the ultimate success story with Darnold, right? Like it's that was what people are chasing after now. I guess it's like, if you can't go out and find a quarterback in the draft, well, let's just pay top dollar for one in free agency. The problem is there's no experience. He's got a 50% win rate. And although I love like the yards per attempt in his career, 8.5, that's an awesome number. He's had a passer rating like over 112 for 3 straight seasons, but the sample is so small that even a few games could just skew that and greatly bring it right back down to earth. And so I would ask you, Marcus, then what would you be comfortable if you were a team throwing your hat in the ring for Malik Willis?
I mean, like $15 million a year, like kind of like what Daniel Jones got last year from the Colts, something like that. I mean, Tom, you're looking at somebody who over the last 3 years is averaging like 30 passing attempts a season. We got quarterbacks in the NFL that are average, 31 attempts per season since 2023. I mean, this is
wild.
You're taking a completely unknown player. And it's not like there's even this big college resume that you can go back on and say, well, we saw him play against, a bunch of these teams in the SEC. This is somebody who played at Liberty. He was Auburn before that, as a backup, who, didn't have a ton of experience in college either. I mean, I get it. We're so desperate for quarterbacks, and teams are throwing money at players who even maybe have a 2% chance of working out. But this feels like such a reach to me that, if I were a team like the Jets or the Cardinals, I'm trying to sign him to a 1-year deal because I want to draft a quarterback next year anyways. Giving him multiple years with $40, $50 million guaranteed seems wild to me.
Yeah, and I'm having a hard time coming up with an organization that this actually makes sense for, to take that big of a swing. Let's assume it's on the higher end, Marcus, gets into a bidding war because he's really the only quarterback out there. And so out of necessity, you'll get a couple teams bidding for his services. If he goes anywhere close to Spot Rack's projection of 35 million per season in AAV, we're talking a contract over Darnold already, a contract that's like 10 million short of what Patrick Mahomes is getting per year in average annual earnings. It doesn't make sense. What team does this make the most sense for? Is it Miami? It's like the Jets can't get out of the dumpster with Malik Willis. I don't think the Cardinals can either.
Well, and even Miami, like I understand the Green Bay connections there, but it's like they're going to eat, was it like $98 million in dead cap hit on Tua? Do you really want to turn right around and give Malik Willis a bunch of money, basically locking, even if Willis is decent, locking yourself into a not top 20 quarterback or not a real difference maker? Obviously, if Miami is signing him, they hope that he's better than that. But I think realistically, I don't know what the upside is here.
I think that at best, you're going to get a quarterback that's proves to be an actual pretty good player, and you're going to get a contract that's on value. I think at worst, you could be setting your money on fire essentially with this because the sample is so small. If he proves to be, I'm just a backup quarterback and you're paying him 25 to 35 million per season, you just talk about a colossal waste of resources and time for your franchise. I just don't know why we're talking about Malik Willis in this light. And I even look at kind of the success that Green Bay has had under Matt LaFleur. Is it a Matt LaFleur thing? Like, is he just get quarterbacks to play better? Because I don't think that Jordan Love is this spectacular quarterback, but I believe he finished like second in EPA this year, even though you watch him on film. And I don't think that he was that impressive of a season. So maybe he's just getting Willis to play above expectation, but 6 games. I just can't get over that 6-game sample size.
Yeah, we have plenty of examples throughout NFL history where teams are buying these quarterbacks who have had 1 or 2 big games. I think the best example is when Seattle signed Matt Flynn to a big contract after he put up big numbers in a week. Was it 17 game against the Lions? Generally, this doesn't work, and maybe I'm being an old man, get off my lawn type of analyst here, but I don't see the upside here.
I agree. I don't get it. But we will see what happens there. We'll see if we get into a bidding war when free agency kicks off. Marcus, let's talk Nick Sirianni's comments for a little bit here. Did not dismiss the possibility of an A.J. Brown trade. And if you watched closely the Eagles last year, it shouldn't be that surprising, really. They were butting heads. Brown was not the same player that we'd seen in the past. And Is it time for a kind of that mutual parting between these organizations? And would the Eagles just rather get draft capital out of their number one receiver at this point?
I mean, I think AJ Brown would like to get out of there. I mean, AJ Brown looked like about the most unhappy receiver last year. And honestly, I give him credit for not making that situation even more toxic than what it already was. But yeah, I think Philadelphia is at the point where it's probably time to move on. But I think if they were to trade him, they would take on $32 million of dead cap if they move on. I've got the numbers right here. $43 million in dead cap. Yeah. It would actually cost them $20 million to trade AJ Brown. It's really tough. Now, maybe what they could do is move some of the money around. But I do think if they were willing to trade AJ Brown, he's got a base salary of just $1.3 million. And I think there are a lot of teams that would be interested in coming up and giving them some potentially, maybe a first round pick, maybe a high second round pick for a receiver that's got money that's very, very, attainable. I do think the Eagles are eventually going to move on from AJ Brown and make Devontae Smith the focal point of this offense.
Yeah, I think it's at least worth mentioning, as big as a dead money hit as you can take. If you can get a first round pick out of AJ Brown at this stage of his NFL career, he served his purpose. Not to say that he's not good anymore, but you literally won a Super Bowl 2 years ago with him as a focal point of the offense. I don't know. Maybe it's time to say, okay, we're going to cut our losses here. We're going to take the big dead money hit, and we're going to start looking towards the future and reinvest that high draft pick into maybe another wide receiver on a rookie contract for the next 4 or 5 years with the 5th-year option. Maybe that's the way you go. Do you think, though, that there's a chance that these relationships can be salvaged at this point?
I think there's a chance that Nick Sirianni and AJ Brown can salvage their relationship. I think the problem is Jalen Hurts is still the quarterback. And for whatever reason, Jalen Hurts took a big step backward as a passer last year. And we saw AJ Brown's numbers go way down. And I just wonder if AJ Brown feels like he wants to be in an offense that maybe pushes the ball downfield a little bit more, makes him more of a focal point of the offense, because we saw, Saquon Barkley is going to get his touches. Devontae Smith is obviously going to be a big part of this passing game. Maybe AJ Brown just needs a change of scenery to kind of reinvent himself and, and improve his energy.
That might be what we're looking at this stage, Marcus. Let's talk Las Vegas Raiders. Maxx Crosby here for a second. John Spytek says that Crosby will be a Raider in 2026. There was all this speculation regarding Crosby dating back to late in the 2025 season. You see him out there shooting hoops and just kind of being disassociated with everything. I mean, if it were up to Crosby, he would be gone, right? I mean, based on his comments alone, he didn't want to be part of a rebuild. I think there's a lot to be encouraged by personally in Las Vegas, but you're still in a really tough division. You still got a huge uphill battle to climb. And he is in the later stage of his career. He's in his early 30s. I don't blame him for not wanting to be part of this rebuild. How is Crosby going to feel about all this?
Well, first of all, you have to read between the lines a lot of times when you get to these press conferences. And my tea leaves are saying basically that the Raiders haven't gotten an offer that they think is acceptable yet, right? Okay. Because if somebody were to give them the Micah Parsons package that a lot of, the Raiders have said they wanted for Crosby, he would be gone. Like if a team is willing to give up 2 first-round picks and a good defensive player, I'm sure the Raiders would have those conversations. But I don't think anybody's giving up that package because he's older than what Micah Parsons is, and he's coming off a pretty major injury. He's also got a lot of wear and tear on his body. I actually expect Crosby to be traded at some point. I just think the Raiders haven't got even close to an offer yet that they think is acceptable.
There's just no way. There is just no way a team can justify giving Crosby the Micah Parsons package. You can't do that. We saw 2 of these blockbuster trades just last year with Parsons, Sauce Gardner. I think at least so far, it looks like both teams got the wrong end of the deal. Parsons obviously was playing phenomenally for Green Bay before the injury hindsight. Obviously, we can't predict those things. But we're talking about a pass rusher in his 30s, Marcus, and Maxx Crosby. What do we know about these edge rushers? They typically have a stark decline in these years. We saw it with TJ Watt. We saw it with Khalil Mack. Who's to say that this isn't going to happen? Why would Crosby be an exception to that? And why would a team pay that much for him?
So Crosby will be 29 at the start of the season. But the point is, you're going to be giving him, you're probably going to be paying him a new contract, or the majority of his career is going to come, in his 30s. You're not getting any discount. You're not getting any age discount. You're not getting any financial discount here. So no, you're not going to get that trade package. But I think because this is what Sauce Gardner and Micah Parsons got, I think the Raiders are in their own, it's fair for them to ask for this package. They're just not going to get it. I think the best that they could hope for is maybe a first-round pick and a good player. I just don't think teams are all that anxious to do that right now. Maybe once we get a little further into the offseason, we get through free agency, some of these teams miss out on some edge rushers. Maybe you will see a team like the Bills or the 49ers entertaining that idea. But I think the idea of them getting 2 first-round picks, I think that was always wishful thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? You can see what's out there and find out what is the market for this player. Who's going to offer me the best trade package, and is it worth sending him along? And I think in the case of the Raiders, you've got a really young roster outside of Crosby. Why not do that? The best pieces on your team are guys that you want to build for the long term, and they might be 3, 4, 5 years away. That wouldn't fit the window with Crosby. And Marcus, you talked about the age, not 30 yet, going to be 29, but you don't pay for past production. And I think this is the mistake that so many GMs and teams make is you pay a guy based on what he did on his last contract. The Pittsburgh Steelers did it with TJ Watt in his last contract of $41 million a year. They paid him for what he did in his late 20s instead of the player that they thought he was going to be in his early to mid 30s. And that already looks like a mistake. The Raiders might make a mistake hanging on to him instead of getting the capital you need out of him, unless you truly think that you are going to be that contending team in the next year, 2 or 3, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're trading for Maxx Crosby, the idea is that you think he's the guy that can take you over the hump, and you're not so concerned about what he's going to look like 3 or 4 years from now. But again, if you're doing that, you're also not giving up 2 first-round picks. Like you're maybe giving up a first and something else. Again, I won't be surprised if he gets traded, and honestly, that's what I expect. But don't expect 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, and Parsons was younger and quite frankly just better than Maxx Crosby. And so there's a reason why there should be a draft capital difference in a potential trade between the two. From the highs, the heartbreaks, the headlines, this is Stacking the Box, your source of NFL talk, powered by FanSided and the voices at fansided.com. Make sure you're checking out fansided.com daily for your sports news and opinions. Marcus, let's talk Kyle Pitts now. Falcons slapped the franchise tag on Kyle Pitts. Can you give us some details and tell us what this means?
First of all, there's only been 2 players that have been franchise tagged so far. It's George Pickens and Kyle Pitts. Coincidentally, they both have the same agent, David Mulligetta, who can be a little bit difficult to deal with. I think the Falcons and Kyle Pitts were struggling to come up with a contract. David Mulligetta would like to see him be paid as a receiver because most of his routes either come in the slot or on the outside. Yeah. And the Falcons said, absolutely no way. Here's a franchise tag for you. Do I think it's a good deal for Atlanta. I think Kyle Pitts is a good fit in Kevin Stefanski's offense. I don't necessarily think it's the best fit for Kyle Pitts in his future of his career. I'd like to see him go to a team that has a single quarterback. Atlanta certainly does not have one right now. But I also understand the Falcons not wanting him to hit free agency. And if you only have to pay him $14 million on a franchise tag, it's not the worst option in the world.
Yeah, and $14 million, I mean, that puts him, 5th in the NFL in terms of average annual earnings. You can argue that he's worth that, but where does this go from here is what I'm interested in. Is he going to be willing to play on that? Can you see a situation where he's like, no, we're going to stand a hard ground? I remember going back years now to conversations. Jimmy Graham wanted the same thing, and he was virtually a receiver for the New Orleans Saints, wanted to be paid like a receiver. The tight end market, though, as we know, is half as big as the wide receiver market. And so even your top of the market players, George Kittle at $19 million a year and Trey McBride at $19 million a year, you're just not going to get that. So is there any way that Pitts can win this conversation here?
No, probably not. I think the NFL has decided he's a tight end. He's not going to win this. I think the interesting part is, do the Falcons and Kyle Pitts ultimately come to a deal? If I'm Atlanta, I don't know that I'm rushing to go out and give Kyle Pitts a bunch of guaranteed money because he's been so banged up throughout the course of his career. Now, he played really well last year, but I believe 57% of his yards came in 5 games. You would like him to be a little bit more consistent game in and game out. And if I'm the Falcons, I think I'm perfectly fine letting him play on a franchise tag. Will David Mulugheta and his team be okay with that? I don't know. And that's where I think things are going to get really interesting.
That is the big question there. Marcus, let's finish with just a little bit of combine buzz here. We've got some players that aren't going to participate. I'm sure Mendoza, he's got nothing to gain from this. We already heard no Jordan Tyson. What are you looking for at the combine? I think one of the things that just more general casual fans maybe might be interested in is somebody going to break Xavier Worthy's 40-time record, 4.21 seconds. Brennan Thompson, named to keep an eye on, Mississippi State, clocked at 23.7 miles an hour. Chris Hilton Jr. is another one. Anything else that you're looking for this week? I know that that's very surface level, but we only have a minute here.
I don't think we're going to see it. I think the best candidate is Brennan Thompson from Mississippi State. But it'll be fun to watch. I think you're going to get a couple guys in the high 4.2s. I don't think we're going to get anybody breaking Xavier Worthy's record.
All right. When we reconvene on Thursday's show, we will get ready for the NFL Combine and catch you up with everything that we have between now and then. This is the Stacking the Box show. It premieres every Tuesday and Thursday evening on YouTube. Be sure to check it out. You can follow Marcus on X at Marcus_Mosher. You can follow me on X at Tommy Jaggi. You can download the Stacking the Box podcast wherever you get your podcast. Also check us out on YouTube. You can follow my written content on stillcurtain.com. Marcus's written content on FanSided.com and the FanSided NFL Network. Be sure to check out our FanSided.com for all your daily sports news and opinions. And thanks again for watching the Stacking the Box.